Welcome back. Was that fun?
I'm so excited I got to do that.
So as you can see, we have a guest today, and we're so excited about this episode. This is like one that we definitely had on the list and couldn't wait to do. So we're here to welcome our coach, Pauline.
Yay, I finally made it.
I know. Welcome. Thank you. So Pauline, if you don't know, me and Jen both, and we talked about it a little bit. We both cheered in high school, and we both coached Bayonne High School cheerleading. Thanks to Pauline, because she's the one who brought us together to do that. And so we thought it would be important to have her on the show now with the new season that just came out of Cheer, season 2, and we just wanted to get like obviously her honest opinions.
Yes, let's talk about it.
Right. Make it nice and spicy. But yeah, tell us a little bit about like your journey with like coaching and everything and whatever you want us to know.
Okay, my whole bio. All right. So I actually started coaching when I was a cheerleader. When it was in elementary school in Henry Harris. We had a teacher coach. She didn't really, she just signed up to help us on. But I was in 6th, 7th grade, and I was coaching my own team.
Stop, like telling them like, go here, like doing.
And I had to like, keep those boundaries too. Like these are my friends. I can't let them get mad at me. But I was making up the routine and like with one of my friends.
Oh, that's so cool. I don't think I even knew that.
Yeah, I didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
Fun
cool.
fact.
Yeah.
So then I just kept, even through college, and I coached Henry Harris for a while, and then I did the high school. I kind of got thrown into that very quickly. And then, I did All-Star actually for a little bit.
I was going to say, you did Devin All-Star, right, with Sal?
Mm-hmm.
Love him. And I got to see him last year because I invited him to do yoga for my job. So that was fun. Yeah, it was nice to see him again.
I know that.
Yeah, it was great.
I'm jealous.
I know, I got to see him, so that was fun. And I feel like he's always a memory with cheer, like just because you always had him, like he was always there,
Yes. When I met him, it was an All-Star team, and we like clicked already, like as soon as we met. So that was like, I was like, this guy's gonna be my friend for a while.
I love it. How long were you coaching at the high school?
Officially as like when we started there, I think it was 10 years.
10 years.
10 years. And then I helped out when I left after I had Alex.
Yeah.
Those were like, I left the state for like
I know,
two
other
years. But
yeah. I know.
10 full years.
Every time she said she was leaving, I was having meltdowns. And she was like, when I was a coach, she was like, it's not about you anymore. It's okay, but...
Oh, gosh. See, like, that's what I'm always nervous about. Like, what did I say that, like, hit somebody in the wrong way maybe or something? But you always have to worry about that as, like...
I feel like now you do more than anything, but I feel like back then, I guess it's like... Back then, me and Jen were just talking about this yesterday, where Jen was like, you feel like there were things like you look back on and you're like, I shouldn't have said that or I shouldn't have done that.
Right.
But I'm like, in that time, like, I feel like it was a different time than it is now.
Yes.
That's true. And I feel like I was still also growing up with you guys, too. I was young.
You were in your 20s when you were coaching us.
Yeah, so like, I definitely made mistakes, and I apologize if I ever said anything wrong. My intentions were always good, where I wanted the team to do well, or somebody understand what I really wanted out of them, or something like that. So
exactly. Right. So I don't think there's anything to like be regretful for, because I know when we stepped in during like the new age kids.
Yeah, it was different.
Very
different.
So
different.
I know. I remember being like, Pauline, what do we do? And you'd be like, I don't know what to do with these kids, because I feel like we came in through like the start of Gen Z.
The difference is like it used to be, here's my coach.
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen to this person because I'm supposed to.
Right.
And I'm not gonna say anything else. Like, I'm just gonna do what I'm told. And that completely
changed.
Yes, that mindset is gone now.
It seems like everything was always like questioned, like when we were coaches, it was like, but why? Like, but why do we have to do this? And it was like everything needed an explanation. And I feel like with us, it was just like, okay, this is what you need to do.
Right.
Do it and shut up, kind of thing. Like, not that you said that, but like like just the way it is. And with like coaching, it was just like everything had to be like broken down, and like, this is why you need to do this because it'll look good with this, and so it was just like a lot.
I know we had a lot of explaining to do, and we did. I feel like we did, but I think maybe that's what I don't know if that's what hurt us too.
Yeah, but no, I think, and it's so funny because I'm always like, why is the new generation like this? But then I always try to say, like, well, what is the positive out of that? Okay, they're asking why. Maybe they really want to know, should they question an adult? And in the way maybe they did it, they did it was wrong. But it's nice to know why. Why is this happening?
Yeah,
like, so it's actually like kind of a good thing. And I do that with my kids now. Like, I'm always, you can't do that. But instead of just saying because I said so, you say it's going to help you for this. It's not good for your brain to watch TV for this long. Or whatever it is. So it's actually nice to explain the why, because then you have more understanding.
Right. Yeah. So like, what would you say your main goal was as a coach? Like, what was your driving force?
So of course you're starting to coach. You want to win, right? That's part of it. But for me, it was always like those connections and like, how can I help people? Like, that's always what I wanted to do. Even when I took like surveys of college, what am I going to do in my life? Like, I always wanted to help people. Right. So, and you learn that as you grow, like how you can really affect somebody's life. Yes. You know, like they're going to remember you. And just with coaching, it was about the kids mostly. But for me, it was like, wow, like I gained so much confidence myself going through it. You know, before I was like, you know, going to these big competitions afraid of like the coaches who have been there for so many years and like I'm this little, you know, Pauline that nobody knows, like with the big dogs,
were like,
you know?
but the thing that was like so admirable, and I have to say this because I was a freshman, you took us to cheer sport, Pauline. Yes. Like, do you recall like the trauma?
I don't even
the trauma that it was like, first of all, because our high school was never good with tumbling, like not never good, but I feel like we were always like the lesser. I don't know. We never had those. Lower. Yeah. So, I mean, just going into cheer sport and just seeing these teams, and All Stars would be there too. Like, that was cheer sport weekend. So, like, even though you were seeing all these teams and you're just sitting there like, we have
I was sitting there like that too.
We have round offs across the mat. Like, but I think it was so badass that like you brought us there and you're like, I don't care. Like, you're gonna know our name here too. Yeah. Like, you know, I thought that was like admirable.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you took away from it that kind of attitude, because I was like,
I have PTSD.
I do, and I actually remember, like, there's so many things I don't remember, because there was obviously so many years that kind of get mixed up, but I do remember, actually, Ashley saying to me, you make me so nervous before I go on, you need to stop that, because and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was like a coach, like, I need to calm down myself, because I'm affecting my kids, my athletes, so... That was like a big moment for me as far as a coach. But you learn, you know, it was the score sheet. I didn't know the full score sheet.
That varsity routine, even though I wasn't on it, this is my favorite routine.
Yes.
I love that routine.
Yeah, there were some good standout routines. I was actually just watching a few yesterday. But.
Yeah. I know. I'm always like, I wish people would just send me like the old videos, because I don't know why. Everything deleted off my phone. I didn't delete anything, but yeah, so I have like no videos anymore. No. I have some funny videos though from like our mannequin challenge and all that stuff. That was fun. I have that. But yeah. So that's So that I feel like you taught us a lot of lessons through cheer though.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, you teach some as a coach. You learn a lot as a coach too. So you know, and in the end, another moment that happened for me was walking into states. Actually, I think it was 2015, the first year we won, and I said. Every year I'm like, you know, like I was saying, like the big coaches, the teams that have been out there number one all the time. And I walked in that day, I go, why not me? I said that. Yeah. Like, why not me? Why not us? Yeah. So I said, I'm going to get in those kids' heads the way that I need them to perform on the floor. Yeah. You know what I mean? Have them in the best mindset.
And that routine, I'm sorry, but that routine still gives me chills. Like, I just went out the pop-up right now, and I'm like, that still gives me chills. And I remember just being like, sitting there, like, banging on the floor, because that's the one we went down to Universal with, right?
Yes.
So that I remember just banging on the floor at Universal, because we were like, it's almost like how you see on the show on Cheer 2, season 2. Yeah. How you see like the band show.
Yep.
Yeah.
And how you're like, we're lower than them, because usually we're like at states you're so far away, and there's so much with cheer. We'll get into that about like what people don't understand. So like watching people critique the show, like how the coaches handle things, critique the children, and it's like. There's just so much to say. But going back to being on the floor, I remember banging on the floor for that routine, like so excited, like knowing that was our winning routine going into states. Yeah. Because I think that year we did nationals before states.
I don't remember, but
because we definitely didn't go into.
No, we were, and that was the year that we fell like every single competition. It was just like, and I remember wanting to change the stunt that year, and then Sean actually, I asked him, I'm like, should I change it? He goes, they have each hit this stunt. Yeah. Individually, just keep it, whatever. So I said, I'm gonna get in their heads before this, and it just goes to show you your own mindset, the way that you come at something, right? Changes everything. Yeah. So if you're coming in timid or unsure, whatever, like, no, why not me? Right. You know, why can't I do this? Just like you guys are doing this podcast. Like, why not? I know. I'm going to do this, and I have good intentions, and I want it to work, and I'm going to put my best foot forward, and that's what you guys are doing. So look at that. You know?
I know. There's just so much, though, like with just like, let me focus my thoughts, because when I start thinking of cheer, I feel like I get like anxiety or like frantic.
No, but every time when Jen's like, wait, where was I going with that on the show, right? I'm like, that is mom brain, because that happens to me all the time, and it's like, right?
What's my God. If you're not a mom? Because I do it all the time with Jen, and she's like, bro, what's wrong with you today? But yeah, what are some moments, I mean, because you were on for 2 years after me, so like, what are some moments, because I think there was a shift definitely from like, I feel like we were like the last class of old school for like 2012.
See,
like,
I don't even remember that you guys were in 2 different classes.
Yeah.
I don't even like, it all like, it mishmashes.
Really?
Like, you could have told me you graduated together, I would have believed it. I swear.
Well, we were the last, my freshman year was the year like Meg was there, love that, like, and that was like, and that was a totally different era too, like with, you know, just having, all those seniors my freshman year, then the whole team that left, and you literally rebuilt the entire program.
Yeah.
So like that, I always like to see, because then it started getting like more, I want to say flashy when Jen's class was there. Like by your senior year, you guys were doing things like what's those called? Like the one-mans and stuff. Like we didn't try any of those when we were on.
Like we had. I think our team dynamic was really like we were. Like, we mixed well together. I feel like there was, like, you know, we had our little issues, but I think, like, the dynamic of the team was just, like, we collabed very well together.
You guys were very strong and mature.
Right.
You know? Like, so in that way, I felt like that was, like, a good...
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah. Like, you know, to just be able to do new things. And then we had, like, Will, who was on the team. And it was, like...
the first year of the guy on the team.
We had the first year of the guy. So, like, it was nice.
Right.
Like, just new things. Yeah. So, I like what you mean. That, like, we were different.
Yeah, no, you guys were different. And I always like to, like, think... Because then, you know, I came from, like, being, like, more traditional. I want to say, like, our team was more traditional. Like, you had us in a very, like... You guys need to be like this, you know, like you have a job to do, blah, blah, whatever. And then how do you like, did you notice a shift like when you were coaching? Like how did that feel having to like be more, because I also feel like your team was very like flashy and like it was different. It was different. Like we had very like, you're gonna hit a high V, you're gonna hit this motion, you know, like we were very like structured. And then it was like, then you guys came in with like disco lights and it was different. It was different. Really? Yeah. I always like, I'm like, it was like a shift. Well, like, do you feel the shift?
Well, I think, you know, you have to move with the times, right? Yeah. So, like, choreography became a bigger part of the score sheet and whatnot. And they looked for that more. But it was also my comfort level, too. You know, like, I was so used to being like that. And then I'm like, all right, I think I can, like, you know, loosen up a little bit and add some more things. And
And when you did, the next year, you ended up winning states. Which was, like... iconic, because there was never a state championship for the high school.
I know.
Ever.
I know.
And it was like, boom. Like, we came big.
That was so exciting.
It was so exciting. Like... It's still one of the most exciting moments I've ever experienced. Is that sad? As a coach, because that's when I came back to coach.
You know what? Like, the last episode of Cheer, like, I was an emotional wreck. I cried because I was like, I miss that. Like, there's no adrenaline rush, like, you know, like that, like
stepping into
like 5 seconds before about to get onto the mat, or like when you just finished a routine and like you're getting off the mat, like that rush is like I miss it so much because it's just like it was just so beautiful.
I know. And for our athletes, like I remember
so hard to get to, you know, states and like nationals, and it's like to either like hit like a bomb ass routine or you know, God forbid, like fall, like, you know, and like it sucks, but it has its like, you know, good things, because it's like you work so hard to get there and it's like over, you know?
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say, like we could get into now, like explaining cheer, because I feel like people don't understand. Like there's a lot of misconceptions about, oh, you guys just cheer at football games, you just cheer at basketball games, you're just like spirit fingers,
we didn't even
and
like that.
that's all we made of. All we have is spirit fingers. But no, I think it's a misconception. We practice for 9 months out of the year. And there's no, year round, I don't remember anymore.
Yeah, there isn't much. There's like a 3-week break.
Yeah, it's like a 3-week break. Right. And even then, we're like still like old stunt groups were in the gym, so there's not a big break.
No.
And I think people don't see that we're practicing all year to hit this 1 2-minute and 30-second routine.
Right. Exactly.
And it only matters at states, really. And not that it didn't matter at nationals, but like I think as we got older, we got to understand like it's not like we were going to NCAA or UCA, like the big team nationals. We were going to like the other, like, I don't know, what would you consider them? They're not like, you know, like they're not the collegiate nationals. Yeah. They're like more...
I just knew, I mean, at that point it was like, to go to an NCAA or cheer sport or things like that, like I could see, like, I guess maybe it was me getting everybody so worked up and nervous, but like, you know, I could see that the athletes were, and I just felt like you work so hard. States is such a big deal in New Jersey. There are so many teams in each division, especially medium. We went in and we always had like 20 teams or something insane like that. So that was, and then not everybody gets to go to Disney. So that was like a nice thing to like be able to bring you guys and do that, especially for all the kids that didn't get to go and experience something like that. Yeah. So, it was more like, I think that's right for us.
Yeah. Like, let's have fun, do that. Yeah. That was.
And not that we didn't have good competition.
No, we did.
No, yeah.
I know that one year, remember we went and it was like a bunch of teams from Massachusetts and we're like, where the hell did these teams come from? They were so good. Yes. And we're like, and that's the other thing too, people don't understand the different divisions because there's so many in cheer and they're like, one of the biggest critiques that I'm seeing now that people are putting out is that Navarro only goes against Trinity Valley, but that's probably because other teams don't want to go against them. Right. Because they're so intimidated. I mean, of course, we've had our comments like, oh, you only went against one other team. So, like in the past when we were coaches. Yeah. But I think it's like now we could sit there and be like, well, there's a reason people didn't step into small. We didn't want to go against, some of the people that were in small. Yeah. There's reasons that we didn't go into large because we didn't want to go against people that were in large. So it's like we knew our lane. But then there's so many different divisions that it's like you can just because... I mean, Grand Champs is Grand Champs. That's when you're, like, the best out of everybody. Yeah. But you're not going to go against every team. And, like, there's different divisions. Right. Yeah. I just thought medium was good for us because it was this, like, a good amount of kids. Like, obviously we had a lot of kids try out, but nobody ever had, the like, tumbling mostly. Right. I'm like, oh, you can do a round off? Yes. Right. Can work with that. Pauline was like, let me see your hurdle after your round off. Let me just see if you have any hops. Then you can get a back handspring. Yeah. So you had an optimistic eye. Yeah. I love that.
So Maya, so did you. Like, I was always so, I feel like in Bayonne High School cheer, like, Pauline was Pauline. Like, she knew her shit. She came in and just, like, it was just, like, a vision board and it just do it. And then watching Mariah coach, it was, like, a mini Pauline. Like, I would be like, how did you see that? Like, I just watched the same thing you watched. Watching you. And it was just so amazing, like, how much, like, they retain, like, all of, and it was, I don't know, like,
not
it was just,
I feel like it not was really the extent of her, but I definitely learned, like, just watching her, like, being able to have that 1 year when I first started coaching. Mm-hmm. I mean, I always saw how you were with us. And, like, how you were very, like, no, we're going to practice it again until you guys... It's not just okay to just be okay, right? So it's like you always pushed us to be, like, no, so you're comfortable with it and you can do it perfectly. And granted, our skills... when we were, like I said, like, before we started winning states and stuff, weren't as, like, elite, I want to say. Like, they weren't as, like, I don't know. Maybe they were back then for the time. I don't know. Maybe they were. No. I mean, we were doing double downs. I had the bruise on my arm to prove it. Broken nose. Leanne's elbows were like, I broke my nose. But then Pauline's like, here, go on their stunt. We had like the best foundation stunt, but not the best. Like, I guess you always waited out with flyers, whatever. Yeah. And then we were trying what's this? Heel stretch, full downs. Yeah. And didn't go well, but it's fine. I was able to still compete that year. I was like, I'm only out for a little bit. You got it done. You drove me home like, I have to bring your parents, to bring it to your parents and let them know like I didn't kill you. But the thing was, it was so funny. It's just such a different time because my parents were like, oh, it's all right. You got her nose broke, Pauline. Like, it's okay. Like, they didn't care.
But your parents were so cool, though. Like, especially, like, your dad was, like, total cheer dad.
I know. You were just talking about that the other day, right? Like, how Mariah's parents were just, like, ultimate, like, cheer parents. Like, ride or die.
I know. We drove down to Florida the year after I graduated to still support the team. I mean, Toph was on the team, but still. We still did it.
Dedicated.
To go back to that, our skills weren't always matched up, whatever. And I knew that we were always, like, a little behind, especially in stunting. Yeah. So, like, I would always, like, try to bring in people that were good at stunting or something, or teach, or, like, have ruckers come in and work with the teams and stuff, because I knew that was my downfall. Like, I could tell, like, obviously you see, okay, people get mad at their teams, like, why is this team, and they blame their kids, their athletes, and I'm like, if it's the same thing every year, it's probably you. Like, so I'm like, I need to do something about that. So I learn, so I know how to do that, know? So, like, and you kind of take that in life, right? Like, if you have, like, kids that are acting up, it's probably, to change things up as a parent, right?
Yeah.
Figure it out. Figure out how to, like, make your kids.
We were ending up at states and going against that one team forever. I don't even remember their names anymore, but I remember that they were hitting, like, full to fulls up in the air. Yes. Remember? And they were just destroying us. And I'm like, how? Like, how? We work so hard, too. So why not us? Like, so that was, like, so annoying.
But it takes years, right? Like, just to build up the program, to get everybody comfortable. When I walked in, I mean, they were doing extensions and barely. So that was, like, a big...
Which is... Another thing, like, watching Monica, and Jen is, like, opposite, and I love that we have opposite opinions. She doesn't see you and Monica. Okay. But I do. Okay. And I think mainly because Monica has, like, that... She has the Monica effect, right? So, like, and I always felt this about you. Like, you could walk into a room and just, like, you demanded respect. Like, not by doing anything, but just by walking into the room, you could demand respect. I think so, and especially with our team. Yeah, like, it's like, we still have Pauline guilt. Like, we were running late today, and I'm like, shit, like, Pauline's on her way. Like, what are we gonna do? You know? Forgetting that we're not on the team anymore. But it's almost like, where do you see, like, when you watch the show, do you see yourself, what do you see?
Well, I mean, it was like episode 1 where the season 1 started and she has that iPad out, right? Like, oh my God. I mean, it's a lot of coaches, right? But I was just like, and then some of the things she said or how like demanding she was or how she was. So, I mean, I see a lot of her and me with her like athlete relationships, you know? So like that's...
You don't see a lot of her actually coaching though. So I think that's like a downfall too.
Yeah, so you don't know exactly, like, if I'm, like, the same or if I was. But, you know, I think every coach has, like, similarities. But, yeah, I guess because she's a woman and, you know, and demanded that of her kids. And she's like, nope, you're going to stop talking now, and that's it. Let's move on. Let's move on, right? Let's blah, blah, blah. I guess, like, the quickness of things, right? How she was. Yeah. And how, like, it's just, like, there's not, like, that downtime. It's just, like, go, 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 go. Yeah. And that's kind of how I was, too, I think.
Yeah. No, I think so, too. Yeah. I think more when we, like I said, when I was on the team and, like, the younger generations, you were, like, very, like, strict with us, but I think we appreciated that. Yeah. I feel like it was different than, like, towards the end. Yeah. Like, towards the end of, like, when you were actively coaching, like, every day and stuff like that. Yeah. Because the kids were, like, I think just a little different. A lot different? I remember sitting in one practice, and I'm just sitting there, like, why am I here? Like, because I was so confused, because it was, like, I took from the book, right? So it's like I watched Pauline, you know, copy paste. So that was like what I tried to do to like whatever, but with my own personality and flavor, whatever. Right. And then it was just like it just wasn't. There was no. You know?
But you guys did so great with like, you know, the kind of kid you had to work with. Not that they were bad, you know, but they had to learn how to respect, right? Because that didn't just come when they walked in the door. Yeah. You know, and they were even coming at me, like, you know, knowing that I was there for so long. They're like, I'm not doing that pyramid. I'm like, excuse me? Right. Yeah. But those kids really like have now apologized to me. I'm sorry I was like that, you know, and Twitter. Sorry, I didn't cut you off.
No, but doesn't that feel good? Because I got messages from one person in particular that messaged me, and she was actually on the team when you were coaching. Okay. And she carried on, and then I think you left like by her senior year, and she was there. I just don't want to say her name out of respect, you know, but I remember one day she put an attitude, and everybody looked at me like, how's she gonna respond? And I was just like, I ignored it. I don't know why I ignored it, but I was just like, moving on, like, because I didn't want to give her the attention, because it's hard. Like, you're working with teenagers. So I'm like, I didn't know what to do. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, oh, what do I do? So, and then she called me a year later, hysterically crying, and she was like, I never realized how terrible I was to you in that moment, and like, I'm so sorry, like, you, Pauline, everyone. She thinks, like, you know, she was like, you guys shaped me into who I am now. So it's like, just going back, and I'm like, that's crazy. I was like, in bed, like, oh, thanks, like, a year later. So.
Well, because you think about it, right? You're like, nobody is born a bad person. Nobody nobody really wants to be a bad person either, typically, right? But, so then you're like, well, what happened in this person's life that, like, they're reacting this way to me, or not being the way that they, you know, like, in a nice way or respectful. So it's like, sometimes the way you react, or maybe not react, is kind of like what they needed anyway, you know? Yeah. In the end, and they'll realize it later on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that's...
I feel
like that's like the situation that I have now, like watching this last season of Cheer, and I like got that time to be able to have that like reflection back when, you know, I was coaching, and like I'm a mom now, and I think that like I was telling Mariah last night, I'm like, not that I regret the way, like, you know, that I coach, but I'm just like, I kind of had like a little bit mad at myself, you know, for not like, I feel like I went in like headstrong, like, am I like, you know, like not confident, right? Like, can I do this? Like, why did Pauline ask me to do this? Like, you know, and it was kind of like questioning myself, and I'm like, I graduated, I was only 2 years, I think, out of high school. So and because the girls that were seniors that year were freshmen when I was on the team. So I was like, this is scary. Like, you know, are they going to respect me? And I felt like I needed to go like into it with like this chip on my shoulder. Like, okay, like they have to respect me, right? Like I'm their coach. And it was just like, I think it took away from me really having that like cheer experience. Like I feel like I was just so worried and like not to say the wrong thing, but then like, you know, like I want them to like me, but like I don't, like, you know, it's like hard to create those boundaries at the time. And I feel like I didn't really get the experience that like I could have out of it, just because I was so like, I don't know, like the word, but I was just so like, maybe bitchy, like I don't know, like it was just like word, no, like I don't know, like what, like it was like more of like I like now that I look back, I'm like, who did you think you were? Like maybe
you needed a Pauline pep talk, because Pauline put me in my place for my first year coaching. She was like, if you don't get that attitude off of, like, I'm not doing it again, like, you won't coach with me again. And I was like, right in check.
Sorry.
Separated, you know, coaching staff.
So hard.
No, but
I feel like it was like a lot of
tests.
Like, you know, it was like they were like testing a lot. And it was just like, what, like,
but who do they think they were too? Like, they tested us a lot.
Yeah, it was like just like a lot of like testing. It was like, you know, like we would go out on the weekend and be like, oh, you were out with this person and this person. And it was just like so hard to be able to like create those like boundaries, and it was just awkward. Right. Like, you know, it's just like I didn't know like how to like act, like what to say, and it was just like, I don't know, it was just
but when you were on the team, I remember I was always like, let me get Jen over here because she's going to be like the voice of reason, and they're like, you know, like, so like that's how I knew you were going to be with them. And I think you even though you may have thought like, oh, I could have been different or could have whatever, like they still went to you, they still like, you know, like had you to be there like as like a rock kind of, like that's how I felt like you were, you know what I mean, like a
I agree.
You know,
and not everybody needed to be like as close as I was with them, you know, like, because I almost not crossed boundaries, but I feel like I was overly invested, and that's like a lot that you get to see on the show now too with Monica and Ladarius, the situation that it's like their relationship. I mean, I feel like I had that with almost all of the girls at some point. I mean, maybe not all of them, but for a good majority of them. And it was almost like crossing, like now I look back at it, I'm like, damn, I crossed a lot of boundaries that probably now would not be okay. You know, like just there were kids that had really terrible home lives that we helped out a lot, that you don't get to see the behind the scenes of like us being there, picking them up on Saturdays, making sure they have clothes on their back, because I know there were times that we had to do that. And I mean, I feel like now though it would be like there's just so much like regulation, or like everything could be misinterpreted.
Well, the misinterpretation, even though you're trying to do something good for them.
And they might not have anything else or anyone else that they can count on, you know? And I actually got a message from one of our cheerleaders who was troubled in high school, and I remember Jen always put me in my place with her, because I was so like almost so hard on her, like, you can do better, you know better, but she didn't know better, like growing up and stuff, so she was still learning. And I remember being so hard on her because I wanted her to do better, and I wanted more for her. And then you have to like just look and like, these aren't my kids, like I love them, but these aren't my kids. So it's like you can't project your expectations onto them, and that was really hard for me. I couldn't separate. So it's good that we had the balance, because I feel like you were like, you had to like take me out of situations sometimes, like, girl, get it together.
And sometimes like someone isn't ready to learn the lesson that you know they need to learn eventually, you know? So like you can kind of like show them or tell them and just let them hear it, but maybe they're not gonna you know, create that, whatever they're supposed to be doing at that point. Exactly.
I know.
That's even with kids too. I'm like, Alex will tell me something. He's like, Mama, I'm not ready for that yet. I'm like, okay.
I love that though. I love that.
He's like, like riding a bike. He's like, I'm gonna ride a bike when I'm ready to ride a bike. I'm like, all right.
Whenever you're ready.
He rides a bike now, so it's,
I love that.
Yeah. He's
that's
very
cool. That's cool. I love that. That's funny. Again. Same new year, same issues. I just blanked. I had something. I was gonna say something, and I was like, I don't know. I lost it.
That's okay. But that's what. Like, speaking of my kids, like I learned. I feel like I'm a better mom, and again, I make mistakes all the time. But I'm a better mom because I coached. You know, like I learned so many lessons through coaching that I like utilize as a mom. And I thank you for reminding me about patience. Somebody, my hairdresser once told me, she's like, don't wait too long to have kids, because every year you lose more and more patience, and every time I lose my patience, I'm like, oh my God, she was so right. But it's so true. But you said your kids need you to be patient, and it's so true. And like, there's so much that goes on in life, so many expectations. Like Dave's always like, relax. You don't have to do everything with them. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Saturday. Where are we going to go? What are we going to do? Yeah. Why are we just sitting at home? And I'm like, people are posting this or they're here, there, and everywhere. And he's like, relax. Like, your kids just need you to be there,
Yeah.
Right. So.
Oh, I love that. I just love that.
It's true. Like, sometimes just talking on a Saturday is good. You don't have to bring it
I'm not a mom, so I like to watch you guys. Like, I love it. We want to have a mommy episode, so you can come back to that.
That was good enough.
No, yes. I was just gonna say though, isn't it funny that like we have such imposter syndrome now? Like, where I feel like I'm almost like a shell of who I actually am. Like, I manage a team with over 50 athletes, and now I'm like in an office, like there's 7 people on my team, and I'm like, I always question myself, am I doing something wrong? Am I making sure like, and I'm just like, wait. We managed a whole team, brought them to Florida. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, and I was 22. Like, now,
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I was just
we lost so much sleep over that trip.
Yeah.
We had so much anxiety.
It was our first year, I think, without you. Like, our last year coaching. I don't think you came to that year. It was like our last year coaching.
I remember, after I didn't, like, wasn't like a head coach, I would just come to Florida, but like separately from you guys. You guys did it on your own.
It was that one year that we were like, we were panicking.
I don't know, but it was.
It was 1 year that we had like and we were like, oh my god, what if somebody like dies? Like worst case
everything.
scenarios.
Yeah. It was just like scary.
It is scary, especially when you have kids that like aren't respecting. Like, they're like, okay, well,
then we saw after the fact they like sneak out of rooms and stuff. And they were like halfway across the hotel.
We were hiding in the bushes. Yeah,
like.
No, there was, remember the one night we were like hiding in the bushes to make sure that they wouldn't leave their room? No, because we were so scared that something was going to happen on our watch. And like, but then I remember not knowing anything because I was so naive in high school. And then I heard stories about stuff that went down my senior year and I'm like, or my junior year. And I'm like,
oh really?
Girl.
Oh, don't tell me.
We never snuck out the room, so at least my group.
No, we didn't, but like,
well, that's why like you guys were mature. Like, I remember saying like, listen, this is my trip too. Like, I want to be able to sleep. Like, can you guys just let me sleep? And then you guys were like, all right.
Like maybe we stay up, but like we never like snuck out. Like, these girls were sneaking out. They were on the other side of the hotel making dance videos and stuff.
I know. They were funny though. I gotta say, we had a funny class.
We did.
They brought what's it called? Water guns. They put fake roaches in our bed. It was fun. It was a blast. But scary. But then I feel like the thing that separated like us coaching and you guys, I feel like a lot of our parents supported you and loved you. I don't know what the hell was in the parent water our coaching years, but they hated us.
I think
it's maybe because we were young.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Sometimes people just take advantage of that and they're like, well, they're young. They're not going to come back at me or they're not going to stand strong. So I'm just going to do what I want.
They were like, this 22-year-old is taking care of my child? I don't think so. Yeah. They did not like us.
Yeah.
But I feel like we had a really good parent group when we were on the team.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And nobody questioned you. Like,
there was a lot of dedicated parents though, like that would like like show up. Like, you had that like nice group of parents that would like show up every competition. They were gonna be there. Like,
mine and Jazzy's dads were like ultimate cheer dads. They were at every single thing. My dad had a camcorder my freshman year that he carried around and he would just record and be like, "You see that girl fall?" Like, all the time. Like, he was like, terrible. Such a critique.
He would be like, what place we were gonna get? He's like, I don't know, Pauline. I don't know.
I know. And then he'd be like, Mom, you don't have your back handspring? That's why you're terrible. Like, my parents were terrible. So hard on me.
I love it.
But yeah. What did you like hope? What was your like hope with like the program once you left? Like, if it continued to be great, or because I don't even think they compete now. Like, I don't know what the status of the program is. I don't, but
see, at this point, it is what it is, and I have no like, I could get into things, but leaving. At the time that I did, I wanted those kids that started with me to at least finish out.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean? And then, like, I wasn't upset when you guys decided to leave. Like, it's life. Like, it was stressful. It was like, whatever. So that was fine. So it's not like I needed it to be like a program that was, successful for years and years and years after me. Like, I had my time. You guys did what you could do with what you had. And then, you did awesome with what you had. And then that was it. And then life goes on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Remember it's just cheerleading. Like, it is so stressful and it's so fun and it's like life consuming and stuff. But again, at the end of the day, it's just cheerleading. Right. Like, there's so much more life to live outside of it.
But it's so funny too, to like on the flip side of that, through the season of cheer, just seeing like there is this whole cheer community that like people don't realize is as big as it is. Yeah. And I think they underestimate, like, you know? Like, they don't realize, like, the hours that you're in the gym, the hours that you're just everything. Yeah, like, the ties that you have to your athletes, the ties that you have to other teams. Because we had, like, other teams, like, rooting, but then you have your rivals and all that stuff. Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like I was always, like, I forget who our rivals are because, like, I was always like, isn't that our rival? And you guys are like, no, this is our rival. I was terrible, so. But I'm always competing against the wrong team.
Well, that's another thing you have to, like keep that boundary, because I think sometimes on the show, it was... I didn't like so much, like, how...
Horrific. That was horrible.
Yeah, you know, like how they talked about each other and stuff. Yeah. Listen, I get it. There was... But you can utilize that with your team. Like, I'd be like, oh, they were watching you. Or I saw them looking at you, like, just to kind of give that fire, but never took it to an extreme, you know?
Because we had that one year.
Everybody's kids.
Right. Like, we had that one year that it got, like, feisty. Yeah. There was a whole rivalry going on Twitter we didn't even know about because, you know, and we're like...
Because you were never allowed to be part of it. I was always like, you know, so...
Yeah, no. Like, what's going on here? And then we were finding out through, like, moms, and remember the coach that emailed us?
Oh, yes. I know who you're talking about. Yes.
But yeah, no, I know. There were some things I honestly didn't like, and I'm going to say my opinion. I did not like Vontae as a coach. I really didn't. But I saw a lot of myself in him, which is terrible to say. Like, I saw him, like, he was on the team, so he would want to, like, jump in and, like, because you could do it doesn't mean your athlete could do it. And, like, I get there was a benefit about being hands-on, because I used to do that, too, like, get in the stunt and be like, okay, you know, but as a critique to, like, the flyer or, like, the base, like, oh, this is what worked for me, maybe try this or whatever. Right. But he's like, if I could do it, you could do it. You know, like, and was just very, like, he wanted the win for himself more because he didn't get it when he was on the team or whatever the case was. So
but I feel like he's gonna, like, it's like almost that, like, though, that young situation where he's like, maybe, like, he's still gonna, in a few years, he's gonna be like, you know, maybe I shouldn't have been like that, you know? So but I don't fault him because I made those mistakes too, you know? So
which is why I'm saying I see a lot of myself in him. That's why I was like, oh, I feel like I'm watching myself back, like, being like, you know? I was just, like, I wanted the win for us. Yeah. Like, for me, too, because I was like, I didn't get to win states. Like, I want to win states. So, that was fun. I think that one of the biggest things, too, in the show is, like, they stressed the score sheet. They said it so many times, and I feel like you always taught us a score sheet. Like, you always were like, okay, we're at, like, a 7.5 in this. We need to get it up to this. And, like, they talk about it a lot towards the end. So, yeah.
Because that's another thing. Like, if you're performing and you have that in your head, and I didn't really, like... go about that the right way, like, in the beginning, but then when I became a judge and I understood the score sheet and how much it matters, and I'm like, this is just like a numbers game pretty much, you know, like, you have to, like, hit the score sheet in certain ways, and then I would, like, look at the other team, okay, well, their jumps are, like, here, so we need to do this to, like, max out our score, like, all that kind of stuff, so you learn those things, and if you teach your athletes that, and it's with everything, if someone understands the why or the reasoning that they're going to get better at something, you'll get that product more likely, you know?
Yeah. I thought that was really important. And I think we always just looked at it as, like, we're just performing. Like, this is just a routine. And then once we started to understand that, we're like, oh, no, it's numbers. Like, you know? Yeah. That's why we never had, like, a certain amount of kids on the floor. Like, and I think that's the hard part, too, for parents. Because they don't get to, like, but you see Navarro has 20 substitute kid. Well, what is it, like 20? I'm like, you guys have a whole team of right, and I'm like, oh, God forbid we had 2 or 3. It was in a war zone.
Meanwhile, I would feel bad. I would make a second team, right? Another routine. Stress myself out. Like,
that's why I know. That's why I had to make my last year. That whole non-tumble. Everybody was on it. I was like, everybody, let's just do it, because God forbid. But you felt bad. I mean, we felt bad.
Yeah, well, because, you know, those kids do come into the gym, and, like, they're working too, so, you know, you want to be able to include everybody.
Yeah. No, I think that's...
Especially if they want to, and they're happy to do it, like, why not?
Yeah.
You know, remember we used to, like, learn routines in, like, 2 weeks, we'd, like, add another routine, or, like, 2 weeks to perform it, right? But we used to...
Make it work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We had that one motto that one year, make it happen. Remember? We lost a flyer right before we were going to nationals. Yes. It was just everything. That year we were just, like... And then that's why "Moment in Time" by Nicki Minaj. We all cry when we hear that song. It was such that year was a lot. And then even that last year, I mean, the first year we went to States, there was a lot going on that year too.
Yes.
And we don't get to see, like, you know, people don't get to see that. Like, we're dealing with death in families and, like, the one that was very public that we're, like, you know, like, how to keep the team morale up when you have somebody on the team that, like, has that weight every single day.
Right.
And then just making sure that this is a light space for them. Mm-hmm. So just having that, like.
Definitely.
That's rewarding, too, like, as a coach, like, knowing, you know, like, that some of the athletes have so much going on, like, at home, and then, like, just being able to come into the gym and, like, at least that, like, little bit of weight, like, is dropped off their shoulders because, like, they're just distracted by cheer and just doing what they love, you know, like, it was nice to be able to see that, too, because some of them, you know, it's hard. Yeah. Some things that they go to, so that being, like, a safe space for them is nice.
For sure.
And I felt bad, too, for the athletes who weren't, you know, in the pyramid, and they weren't, you know, in the stunts and stuff, and they were, like, their role was tumbler. But, again, with the show, I think it's showing those things, like, it's okay to be in your lane. Like, this is your lane. You're the tumbler. So, like, you should be perfecting your tumbling skills. And, that might sound annoying to keep hearing, but, like, stay in your lane. You're the tumbler. Like, not saying that you're just always going to be there and, like, because then by the end, Michaela's not going to care if I say her name because I love her. She knows she wants to be on the podcast and stuff. She's like, you should do an episode. I know. She's like, you should do an episode with me and Sam. But, like, unfortunately, Michaela was just the tumbler for many years. You know, like, at first she was a flyer, then she got taller, and it was harder to carry her. But then she was just a tumbler. But then she transformed into this amazing back spot. And it was like, but you played your role the last 2 years. Like, you were just a tumbler, and she ended up getting,
just a tumbler.
Not just a tumbler, but...
I was never a tumbler, so when I hear just a tumbler, I'm like, that's, like, I wish I could have been.
I know. And that's what I'm saying, like, she had a back tuck. Like, I'm like, girl, you know, there's, like, not everybody could do a back tuck. Like, exactly. You know? Like, take some credit.
Not everyone's body is meant to
Right.
I know, and you're getting us those points, so thank you.
But she would put herself, like, I don't want to just be a tumbler. And it's like... We get that, but, like, this is your lane for this year. And, like, she just had it for 2 years, so she hated it. But, you know.
That goes with everybody, right? You always have your strengths, your weaknesses. Yeah. You know, even in your partnerships and whatever. And, like, you kind of, like, you have to understand what those are to better your relationship. Yeah, so.
I know.
And when you mature, just, like, you know.
Yeah. And then when she went to cheer in college, and she backspot, I think, into college. And then she's like, I didn't realize that last year of cheer of high school was going to bring me to this.
Right.
So...
It all worked out.
Yeah.
You gotta trust your coach. Trust the process.
Trust the process, yeah. If there's anything you would... Well, because we don't have that now. So, like, we don't coach anymore. We're not involved with cheerleading. I mean, you still judge, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
So, what's that like? Because you really love the sport.
Yes.
Like, it's different than, like, us who, like... Because I don't know if I love cheerleading. Like, I don't know if I could just watch it now.
Yeah.
Maybe I do, but maybe I just don't give my time to. But, you love the sport. So, like, what's that like not being as involved as you used to be?
You know what, though? I always say, like, I need to, in my life, give 100%. For me, I only feel good about my product if I'm giving 100% to whatever it is. So, you know, once I had kids, I couldn't give 100% to coaching. So it just didn't feel right to me. It was more stressful. I wanted to give 100% to my home life because I was raising a baby. Yeah. And so I'm okay with not being involved anymore because I have a different focus and something that's, like, rewarding in itself, you know? Yeah. So that's good. But with judging, I still get that old part of me. Like, you know, you lose a lot of yourself, I guess you say, when you become a mom, but you grow in a different way. So I'm not upset that I don't have that. I'm just, you know, I have a little bit of it to keep my mind sharp, I guess, in the sport, to know what's going on. And, you know, because it was such a big part of my life. So I want to continue it, but it gets harder and harder to keep up because things are changing constantly, you know? So that's another stress, to learn all the new rules, the new deductions and things like that. And so it's a lot, but it's still fun. Like, my day when I'm judging goes by super fast because it's, like, it's fun to watch the teams, like, you know.
I haven't watched any, like, Jersey teams since we left. So, like, who's the good teams now? Like, not, but we don't have to.
I think pretty much I know, I can't really.
I know.
But, like, the same big.
You can't be biased.
No, I can't. No, and I'm not. You know what? Because at any moment in any division, anybody can change. Anybody, new teams come out.
Or a team coming out of nowhere, and they're like, bomb. I remember, I never knew who, there was one team that I was like, I've never seen them before in our lives, and now they were so good. They beat us in non-tumble one of the years. I think the first year we did non-tumble. Yeah, and they were just so good, and I'm like, where the hell did they come out of? And they were so good, and I was like, give them so much credit. Yeah, and I don't think they even competed any years before then.
I think, because I coached, I give each team that respect because I would want that respect as from you know, coaching. So I do that, you know, I kind of just like treat each team as their individual selves, not the name that they have on their uniform, you know.
So. I know, because there's so many good teams. There are. Jersey's really good. I feel like we have really good cheer teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely represented well, high school and all-star. So
Oh yeah, duh. Yeah, I forgot about all-star. I feel like I'm such a foreign to all-star.
Yeah, no, that's where it gets like really crazy. Yeah, especially when you're judging building and you have to like write down every single element that they're doing.
So you've judged all-star too?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, like the big name teams?
Yes.
Oh, I love that. How is that?
It's hard because, you know, like they've obviously been judged by, you know, the number one judges in the nation and throughout the world and stuff like that. So it's, you know, your comments, but you just, another thing with confidence, like you have to be confident, okay, well, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I think, or this is what, you know, you could work on. And hopefully they take it, I always read all the comments, this is what somebody is seeing, so maybe, I didn't see it that way. So no matter how big you are, how many years you've been around, you should still look at it like, okay, maybe this person has a fresh eye or something beneficial to say to me, not like, I'm not even going to look at this score sheet, you know? So
I know, we used to be so obsessed with the score sheets when we got them back, like, read every single word, like you know.
Pauline, can you pass them back already?
Right. She would, even when you weren't at the competitions, you'd be like, send me pictures of the score sheets immediately. I remember our last year at States, when we obviously placed not well with medium, and that was like our first year losing after like our 2-year back-to-back. Right? 2-year back-to-back? Or it was like 3? I
thought it was 3.
3 years. 3 years back-to-back, which was like, whoa. That was intense to have 3 years back-to-back. And only one of them was without you, because the other 2 were with you. Yeah. So that last year, though, when we lost, and I remember a bunch of coaches kept coming up to me, and I guess maybe because I was already checked out, like I knew we were leaving, like I knew we were done. They were like, you need to go get the score sheets and like challenge that, blah, 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 whatever. You guys should not have gotten. I think we got 4th. We should have, they were like, all the coaches were coming up to me like, you guys should have gotten 3rd, blah, 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 whatever. And it was the same like issue that happened with Navarro and Trinity Valley is like Navarro last, or whatever year it was, 2020, I lose track of like 2020 when they competed, or 2019. It was like they went, competed, somebody got hurt in their first performance, came back out later on, and then competed and got a fresh start. Right. So it's like by that time the judges have already like explain that a little bit. Like the judges are, when you're in a category or division, you're like it's real time. So you're comparing back to back of those teams. But then you've seen all of these other teams, and then this other team comes out and you like forget. So you could either be scoring a lot lower or a lot higher. So actually, I keep like you're supposed to keep running notes. Oh, okay. About everything. So if I'm the building, everybody has their section. So if I'm the building judge, I'm writing down every single element or every single, you know, if they fell, if they bobbled, if toe wasn't pointed. Like I make notes of that. Like you're scripting, it's called. Yeah. Okay. So you script every single thing. So, hopefully it's fresh in your mind, even though you're not seeing that. You're seeing them later. It's still there to compare. From your notes. How long is States? It's like a long ass day though. So there could be a lot of teams in between, because remember we had like so many different sessions. Yeah. It could be so many teams in between. Yeah. I don't know. It's not easy. No, that's what I'm saying. Like I couldn't imagine judging. Because you have to a lot of coordination. Right. Watching. Yeah. Writing. And some of these stunts go so fast. You're like, what do they do? And was that legal? Right. And there's somebody else that does the legalities, thankfully. So you're not just doing everything, but so there's multiple people. And then there's also somebody that's saying, okay, well, this is the difficulty range they need to be in. So you stay within this range. So there's also that person. But that's also stressful because you're putting down a difficulty and then she's saying, no, you didn't put the right range. And I'm like, oh gosh, what did I do wrong? Yeah. So it's like a lot of that kind of stuff, especially it's all going so fast. Yeah. So you have to keep up. So. Right. Are there any teams now that you're like, oh wow, because I feel like cheerleading's been around for so many years, and there's new things, but it's almost like there's still restrictions of what we can't do. With especially in high school, I don't think you could still do double downs, right? So that takes an element out, but they have other things they could do now. So I haven't seen any teams, like I said. So what is now? What's the new hot thing in high school cheer? Well, that's the thing. I didn't even get I think I judged one competition last year. I haven't judged yet this year. Oh, so many competitions have been canceled because of COVID. Oh, okay. So I'm judging next week is going to be my first competition this year. So I don't even know. Yeah. Oh, well, it's going to be a mix, but mostly high school, I think. So we'll see. I don't, I want to know what the new hot thing is. I feel like right when we were leaving, it was what was it like?
Handstands.
Yeah. I know. And we were trying to do some fun stuff, but I mean, it's hard to like learn. You get like this new skill. They're like, okay, you guys can do this now. And
or we're like inversions, right? We're saying handstands, like not on the floor, but in a stunt, right?
Yeah. And they're like, you guys could do this now. And we're like, oh my God, like we have only these months to teach it. Like, you know, let's get it in the routine. Yeah. So, but yeah, I want to see like what's new now. Cause it's almost like, it could get repetitive, right? Like,
yeah, same.
I feel like there was one year that was like, oh my God, what's a new fresh take we could do on this? Because it's almost like we're still in the same restrictions, you know?
Right.
So,
how
did you get creative? What was your creative process?
Honestly, every time I was like, what is this? Not vertical, right? So horizontal. If I was laying down horizontal, you're going to think I'm crazy. Anytime, like before going to sleep, and then as I'm waking up, that's like when all my ideas would come. Always. And I'm like, I wake up like, we got to do this, like write it down.
Okay, so basically you just slept. Okay,
yeah. But they say like your brain works really well when you're horizontal like that.
I love it. I love it.
Funny.
No, that's funny. That's funny. I'm always like, how did she come up with this? So yeah, that's gonna look really good. How, you know?
Yeah.
And then the music, like things change so much.
Oh, the music was like, I said to myself before, I'm like when I was watching the routines from 2015, and I literally sang out the entire thing. Like I would send it. He would think I'm crazy, the music guy. I'm like, okay, this is how it's gonna go. So you're gonna start with this voiceover, and I would like write down, okay, this from this time in this song, this is what I want. Like I would have the entire music like mapped out, and so like I already knew what it was gonna sound like before he sent it. And if it wasn't, like as I'm listening to it the first time, I'm like, well, no, that was in my head. You got to change this. So he probably didn't get that much direction from most coaches, but like I just knew what I wanted and like how it would sound, and like
that's
just the voiceovers to match like our feeling.
Yeah.
You know, because it has to be like personal.
Yeah.
You know, so we always had that like
it was
saying
a hit
or something.
Every time.
Yeah,
that like anticipation of like waiting to hear your music was just always like right on target, I feel like.
Remember our last year coaching, they hated our music. They were like, no, we gotta do better. No, because remember when after your last
for us, our generation of cheer.
Yeah, we were so much more appreciative than you.
Well,
no, I'm just kidding.
Like, it was like there's like emotion behind it, right? Because you're performing to it, so there should be emotion behind it. So if you believe in the music, if you feel it, and you know, like I wouldn't just say like what's my vibe. It's like what's their vibe too. What songs would they like, or what kind of voiceovers would they like? So it all like came into play.
I remember. I forget what year it was. Probably it's like, you guys don't have any rapper friends. Does anyone want to rap on our cheer?
No, but I feel like you were
looking for that like
that
like spunk to add into it. It was so funny, but
I feel like with all your music, you were always like, no, it needs to be relatable. Like the judge needs to like, and you always thought about that too. Like I feel like people don't realize how much you thought about. Like you're like, oh, your judges are in like their late 30s, so they're gonna like this kind of music. So we're gonna put these songs in from the 90s because they're gonna love that. Yeah, they were probably teens when this came out, and like you were so like meticulous with those things. Like I'm like, what the hell? Like I remember being like, oh, this sounds so good, and then I'd be like. And then we had like those stigma songs that were like, if this is ever in somebody's music, and then once people would come out with that song in their music, we'd be like, we're not even watching. We're not even watching. Is that terrible? Like, Who Runs the World, Girls? Once people
that was
out
like
that
so
music,
played out that year.
I know. We would be like,
or evacuate the dance floor.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was great.
But it just shows how much I overthink everything, which is kind of like
the moment for life was one of my faves.
I know that was
the moment for life. That was one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and then the one with the obviously Our Year, We Could Be a Ruler.
Oh, that was good.
That was one of my favorites. And then the Whoop Whoop. I forget which one that was. When what's her name was like in the middle, and then she wore the sunglasses. It was like,
actually, that was my senior year.
Yeah, that was that
one
too.
That was like something like I wanted to incorporate like the props, right? And the judges were like, "You don't need that. Get rid of them." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, fine."
Yeah, because remember she was in the middle, like boom, boom, breaking it down. Awesome. That was awesome. Yeah, she killed that.
Yes,
but her role was she was a bomb dancer. Like I was in the back because I couldn't pop and lock and drop it like that, but she could. But I knew my role. Me and Lee gonna be in the back making up our own dance. 5, 6, 7. We were gonna clap on 6. Good. All right. Boom. Let's go in the back. We were good. And just how the cookie crumbled. But
well, that's good. That was mature of you. Like, you knew what you were.
I would have never expected to be in the front.
Honestly, but you both were like that.
Yeah.
I didn't even know my jumps were that good until I watched them off, and I remember being in the second row. I'm like, how the hell did I get my jumps? How was I in the second row the one year? I think it was my senior year.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? On the outer V. That's even bigger. I was like, whoa. I didn't know that my jumps were even good.
Great. So it's like if you're on the left side, your left leg had to be the good one, right?
And those are the things. I'm like, who thinks of these? Like, like you taught us to think of those things.
Yeah.
I remember every time I practiced, if nobody was recording, she's like, what are you doing? Why are you guys saying that? Somebody needs to be recording, right? And I remember talking about this too. It's funny that they did like a cheer documentary because we talked about this. Like, I wish there was somebody that would do a documentary of us to see, because we were going through so much that year. That was that one year, the 1 year we won states, and we were like, damn, we wish there was like somebody documenting this whole thing, because we had so many like trials, more than like any wins or anything. We went through so much that year. I think we came second and third every single competition until states.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It was.
And we were just like, by the end, we were just like, how did we get through the year? By nationals, I think we went to nationals before states that year. But yeah.
Oh, that nationals was an experience. Remember, it was so hot, and then I would like.
Remember the one girl threw up on the other girl's back, walking off of the mat, completely like projectile vomited all on her.
Stop.
And she had to compete on the other team, so we had to change uniforms.
I felt so bad.
Crazy.
Oh my god! And then the next day, I'm like, okay, we're gonna wear our t-shirts going in, right? And then you're gonna change right before you go on, because it was like.
That was a process. So we had to get like bus to one stage. It was a lot. Behind the scenes, and that was another thing. The show did show so much. Even though I wasn't crazy about the season, they showed a lot this year. Like, they were saying like from the band show, from like when you practice, it's like a whole hour before you go on, which is true. There's so much waiting time that it builds up your adrenaline, and then by that time you're like, your body's not even loose anymore. Yeah, like you're tense and you're just like, oh my god. Like then you have these big lights in your face. Like I always remember going out into a merit cheer, even though it was fun. Like, it just went so quick. Yeah. Like, because the lights are just like, boom, so you hear the crowd roaring, but you're like, I don't even know where it's coming from.
Where to look.
Yeah. And then how should they talk about the floor giving, like, it had give. It wasn't a spring floor, though. It's not a spring floor.
No, but I could think whatever platform it's on had, like, give, so that's what made it a little bit. Gave it something, but, no. Yeah. That's a good idea to get their own stage made and stuff.
You tried to get us our own spring floor. Well, you tried to get this around sprinkler. But it's expensive. Yeah.
No, it is expensive. And there was like you can't break it down, so.
Yeah, it has to stay up. Yeah. We didn't have like our own. We had our own gym, but it was split with like the other people, like gym in high school. Right. Like their gym classes. So we could
karate.
And karate. Yeah.
Karate, God.
Like, are you using our mats?
With no
your nasty feet.
Oh my god. That's like going to cup of cheer. When we had cup of cheer and stuff, we had remember we used to have to vacuum all the mats. Like, oh my god, it was terrible with all the hair. And then we got those gray mats, and the hair would not come off.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but those were nice with their little logo on them. Those were nice.
Yeah,
they were very nice.
Oh, so many good memories.
I hope so. Yeah. Well, that's what you always think, like, as a coach, like, you want everybody to walk away from it with a good experience, you know? And, like, it's not just the routine of it. It's, like, the full experience. How to work with people, you know? How to be a teammate, how to be a leader, or how to be, you know? And it all comes into play. And hopefully you're able to use that in your life later on, you know? And hopefully everybody
Do you realize the impact you had on people?
I think I worry too much about any negative impact because I feel like, I mean, listen, I tried my very hardest to be very good, you know, and compete with the teams that had kids walk in with standing tucks and stuff, you know, so it's hard to do that and you have to push your kids even harder, you know, when you're walking in with not as much skill right off the bat. Right. So, but I tried to, like, create moments, you know. Yeah. I always say, like, I'm always saying, like, that's what life is all about, but it's true. Like, it's the moments, it's the feelings that you create with people. So, like, I tried to do that. If we were having, like a bad time or people were fighting or something, I would try to, like, think of some kind of activity to do, you know, or to, like, write things down about each other, or you have to, we're going to have partners and you guys are just going to tell each other how you feel. You're going to sit here. I played, like, Kumbaya music and stuff. Like,
remember we had Big Sis, we did, like the sororities do. We did, like, Big Sis, Little Sis. That was fun.
Yeah, because we had, like, a big JV team or something coming in. So, like, I wanted them to feel comfortable. So that was good, too.
Yeah.
get that.
No, you definitely instilled like a lot in us.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. I think so.
Yeah, we definitely need the Queen Bee's alumni come through this episode. Right. Share your comments, your experiences. Right. Because we know there's lots out there.
Right. What is the one thing that you wish everybody took from you?
I guess just to be open with people, have people understand where you're coming from and understand where somebody else is coming from.
Right.
Because, you never know what that person is going through. And you guys have talked about that on this podcast before. I've heard about that. It's so true. Like, you have to understand people and to give people your why. This is why I'm doing things, or this is, why it's happening, to talk. It's always like communication is huge with any relationship you have in your work life, in your personal life, family life. If you have kids, like just really communicating and being open to communicating. You have your way, yes, but another person has their way, and they're both truths. You know? So.
Oh yeah, I love that. That's good. I like that.
So nothing cheerleading related. It's just really like interpersonal related. That's what I hope in the end came out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think you have a greater influence than sometimes I think you give yourself credit for.
Yeah. Thanks.
Not to make you shy or anything, but
no, but it was fun to do it. You know what I mean? I had so much fun, like figuring out, like, how am I going to make this better, or if we're having a tough time or trouble or whatever's going on on the team at that time, like, how am I going to figure this out? Right. So it was just fun to do that. And anyway, like creating the routines and seeing that magic. Like I used to love watching the stunting, just to watch like
the sun
like and just like good stunts, different transitions and things like that. Like it was just fun to create, be creative like that, but also like see it hit, see people feel confident that it did hit, and working through it. Like that was really, really fun.
I know. I feel like the first routine I put together for Varsity Ensemble, because at some point the world changed, so it wasn't JV anymore. It was Varsity Ensemble, and that first routine, like I don't think any other routine gives me as much chills. Like I was so proud of that routine because it was literally everything that like I saw it, but then I feel like I lost my creative juices after that. Like I was like, maybe because it was like on a larger scale, because like medium was like harder to, like you want it to be good, but you also wanted to make sure you're like getting the skills in. So it was almost like harder for me to be creative there, where it's like we had so much like time to kill between everything, because they were only holding like a lib or anything for maybe 2 or 3 counts, like it wasn't. So yeah, I think that routine was like the best one. What's your favorite routine?
Oh gosh, I mean the one that I have on my phone, the only one that I have on my phone is from 2015,
the first year one.
But my favorite pyramid was JV. I think not that year, maybe the year before that. I don't want to say names and things like that, but it was like the one where they, oh gosh, I don't know, but it moved a lot. So that was just, I always remember that.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. That was,
I forgot what music it was too.
No. Maybe JV when I was a junior? Or when I was a senior? I think. It was one of those years. I know which one you're talking about, and they were really good.
Maybe it'll come to me later, but yeah.
Yeah. It was like, my favorite it was like one of your freshman year.
I think pyramids were my favorite. And then that last year that I was coaching, when I was just like a helping coach, that was hard because I felt like, I just had Alex. I wasn't like, and that's when I say like giving 100%, because there was so much thought that went into it. I was literally thinking about cheerleading all the time and what could be next and whatever. And when I didn't have all that time to do that, it became more difficult for me. So like, that was a hard transition to that, but we figured it out, right? Yeah. We did like 87 switches in that pyramid. But it worked out, and then eventually it came to life. But you're
not working with the same team every year. I mean, the kids are different. You have different flyers. One year the flyer could be a flyer, then a base the next year. So that transition too on the show, they show the one girl who was a flyer, then she wasn't on the mat the next year. Yeah, which is like that's shitty. It sucks. It's hard. Yeah. But I don't think the whole point of this episode is like there's so much to cheer, and I feel like you brought so much to like at least our community, where you built a community in cheer.
Well, people get so wrapped up in the winning and that making sure that but it's like again, there's life to it. These families are have to pay all this money to go on all these trips just so you can say you won this. Is it really about you wanting to go to this competition, or to say you traveled to all these places, and now these people, these poor families that are like have other kids and have to pay for other sports or activities as well. It's like it's hard. It's not easy.
Like
sell your chocolate bars.
And then
I remember when in doubt, sell your chocolate bars. And then we couldn't even do that. By the time we were coaching, we couldn't even sell chocolate in school. Yeah, so it was like, okay, where are we supposed to get our money from? We couldn't sell baked goods at the concession stand.
Yeah. Remember we did chapstick that one year? We sold chapstick.
I don't even. We were selling anything. We could sell anything we could get our hands on.
I know.
Because we were getting and then the funding, like people think like there was no funding. And this one trip, like granted maybe it's $1,000, and we look at it now like, okay, that's not that bad. Yeah. But these were parents that have, like you said, other kids that's like they have to pay for their whole family to go down.
Right.
You know? And $1,000 is a lot. I mean, Disney is always expensive, so it was a lot. I can't even believe we paid
the money was always like the last minute.
Oh like, our last year,
are we gonna get there? I know.
Our last year, I remember we were in the negative when we went to Florida. We were in the negative, and we were like, we don't even know how the credit card bill is gonna get paid back. Poor Leanne. That's what I had to say. I remember being like, we hope this doesn't mess up her credit. Because
on the edge of our seats.
Yeah, because we were in the negative, and Lisa's like, we just have to go. We just have to go. We're already booked. We just gotta go. We don't know what else to do. And at this point, back. We're like, everything's up in the air. We don't know what to do. I think we even threw like a bingo night or something when we came back to get more money.
Yes.
Because we were just like in the negative, bad. But not from like spending. Not from spending poorly, but
people just didn't always pay on time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was like the problem.
All right, y'all. Thanks for listening. It's time for a water break now.
Yeah, we'll see you guys on Thursday to finish up the rest of the conversation with Pauline, and it gets juicy then because we get to talk about season 2 of Cheer. So finally, if you're interested, and there's more about Cheer. So if you're interested, definitely tune in on Thursday, and we'll see you then.
All right. Bye.